Janine. This is KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine, and this is Get the Funk Out. Standing by to join me is Mike Peters of The Alarm, and he's going to talk about Love, Hope, Strength Foundation, announcing their February 4th Love, Hope, Strength Big Night In, an evening of entertainment on World Cancer Day. Welcome to the show, Mike.
Great to be here, Janine. Thanks for having me on the show. Brilliant.
Where are you connecting from? You're in London?
I'm in Wales, actually.
Oh, Wales.
North
Okay.
Wales. Yeah, right on the coast. Not too far from Liverpool, if you know England. We're a stone's throw from.
I know a little bit. I want to go someday when there's no COVID.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great place. We live in Wales. It's a beautiful part of the world. One of the best kept secrets the world has, we think.
It's beautiful. Let's hope it stays that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Safe.
So how are you doing right now with COVID?
I'm doing good. I'm being very creative and trying to make the most of the time. In some ways, being off the road has allowed us to be a lot more creative and really follow our instincts. Sometimes when you start making a record or writing a song, you get onto a train of thought and then that gets interrupted by someone, your agent phone up saying, hey, we've got some tour dates. You've got to fly to America and get going. And this time that hasn't happened. So we've just been able to really follow through some ideas and go really deep into the creativity. And to be honest, I'm really enjoying it.
That's good.
A lot of great music in the name of The Alarm. And we're very excited about the possibilities. But we're still looking forward to the return of the touring. But we're making the most of what we have right now.
Well, it's great because you're still creating for the fans. I mean, I've been a fan a long time now. I remember listening to your music. And, I love it. And it's great because I feel like probably for you, there's been more synergy with your band because you've had this time.
Well, very much so. And the fans, because when the lockdown happened in the UK in March 2020, we were due to be playing a big show that night in the north of England.
Really?
And up in Scotland and the next night. And the shows had to be cancelled days before. So we thought, what can we do to help the fans through this and ourselves through this horrible moment? So we created our own TV show called The Big Night In. Right from my home, we started broadcasting with Jules, my wife, as the presenter on the sofa, a bit like you are now. And then I would stand by my jukebox and play some songs, and we dug out some rare videos from the Alarm archive, and we turned into a huge show. And we had hundreds of thousands of people tuning in, and
amazing.
It really connected us with a lot of people in a great way, and kept us all having something to look forward to while we were staying indoors, and it's been brilliant. And it's that spirit that's driven us right through this whole COVID situation.
That's amazing. Now let's jump into your event on February 4th. Tell me why this foundation was important for you to create.
Well, Jules and I, my wife, we're both cancer survivors. Jules was diagnosed with breast cancer a few years ago and survived and came through all that. And I've been living with leukemia since 1995. And I've had a long journey with cancer. And it really got dark for me around 2005, but I managed to come through, and I was introduced to a gentleman in Texas called James Chippendale. And he'd been a bone marrow transplant recipient and survivor of the transplant process. And together as leukemia patients, we both felt there was differences in healthcare systems around the world that we could help alleviate for people who are less fortunate than ourselves to have, in Wales, in the USA,
sure,
you can have access to the amazing medical teams, amazing cancer research, amazing cancer medicines, and doctors and nurses, but there's others out there who are less fortunate. So we felt that by utilizing the power of our music, taking our music to mountainsides and singing out in the open, we could help people less fortunate than ourselves. And that was the beginnings of Love, Hope and Strength.
I love it. So as far as the event goes, I think it's an hour-long special. It's live and recorded musical performances.
That's right. Yes, we've been lucky enough because we started the charity in 2007, and our first ever event was on the summit of the Empire State Building in New York, and we climbed the steps. Yeah, we climbed every step, and we had Billy Duffy from the Cult and Dave Wakelin from the English Beat and Slim Jim Phantom from the Stray Cats, and we played a gig on the top of the Empire State Building. And that
Lovely.
was to announce our next mission was going to Everest to perform the highest gig on land in the world, and which we did. We had Glenn Tilbrook from Squeeze join us. It was filmed for VH1 Palladia channel, and it really set a big fire burning under our charity. And a lot of people reached out to connect, a lot of musicians. We started doing bone marrow donor drives at concerts around the USA and the UK, and we used cheek swabs to get people onto the bone marrow donor registry to become matches for people like me and James, who are leukemia survivors who might need a transplant to stay alive. And through that process, we connected over 250,000 people to the
Oh my
International
gosh,
Bone Marrow
Mike.
Registry. Yeah. And more, probably even better, we found 5,000 potentially life-saving matches that would be attributable to whatever band's concert they were at. You know, we
Right.
saved a lot of lives. 45 lives were saved through Linkin Park,
It's beautiful.
through people getting on the list at their shows. And
Mhm.
so when we go back to like Mumford and Sons and say, hey, we saved potentially 8 lives are saved through your concerts, they were, what, you've turned our gig into a life-saving event. And that's what we do.
That's
And
beautiful.
obviously doing cheek swabs now is going to be difficult in
Of
COVID,
course.
but we've
Yes.
got a great supporter base, and as well as doing the physical side of fundraising, and we do a lot of mentoring, and we're called Love, Hope, Strength because we try and give out a lot of positive messages through our music and show people that we represent what we think of a new face of cancer, a new generation where we have a fighting chance to beat this
Yes.
disease.
Yeah.
The treatments are there if you can only have access to them, and you get in early enough and you check yourself and respond, then everyone has a fighting chance now.
I was going to say, I mean, so many people know someone, if not family members, that have been touched by cancer. I mean, I know I had mentioned to Ken Phillips, your PR person, that amazing PR person, by the way, that my dad had stage 4 colon cancer.
Wow.
You know, I've had family members with breast cancer, and somebody knows somebody and has been impacted.
Absolutely. That's what we found every time we set up our booth at a concert. It was, the campaign was called Get on the List. So we didn't mention the word cancer. A lot of people came over thinking it was a chance to get backstage and get on the
Oh,
guest list. And it was because they came into the booths that they started to, oh, this is a cancer charity. Yeah. And it kind of took the fear out of the situation, and
sure.
they walked into it without even thinking. Because most people, when they see the word cancer, they look away.
Yeah.
And so this is a great way for people to engage. They'd let their guard down and say, well, actually, I think I might have found a lump. And we could say, oh, look, go point them in the right direction of
Yeah.
approaching their medical teams and getting to their doctors, and then progressing it, and not being afraid that they might find something that they have to act upon. But
Sure.
it's much better to act early, and it's the worst thing you can do is pretend it's not there and that it'll go away, because cancer doesn't just go away.
No,
You
it doesn't.
have to tackle it head on.
Right. And what's wonderful too, Mike, is that you make people feel less alone. This is a disease where sometimes you probably want to curl up in a ball and not connect with people, but the connecting with people really helps you in so many ways.
It really does. I was fortunate when my cancer journey came out in public. I connected with millions of fans. I mean, it was the era of when Lance Armstrong was the figurehead for
Oh yeah.
winning a cancer battle.
Mhm.
And the day I went public with my cancer experiences, the next day I must have been sent like 200 copies of It's Not About the Bike. And it was people saying, look, you've got to read this book. Here's a guy that's rides bikes, but he survived cancer and he's had an amazing story. And I
Mhm.
read the book, and as I didn't know much about cycling and Tour de France and all that, and I was absolutely blown away. And I thought, well, if I could turn my music into something like that when fans hear of a family member that's been diagnosed or having to face a cancer battle of their own, they can say, listen to this guy's music, he's been through it, read his website, you'll see the stories of how he survived and is living to tell us the tale. Because that's the most important thing for me. When I was very first diagnosed in 95, the internet was very new. And again in 2005, when I was re-diagnosed, when I relapsed again, it was a scary place to go, and I couldn't find any positives. It was all about the death rate and how small your chances were of survival, because we were working off old data. The internet then was full of old data, And as my story unfolded and I realized I had a chance to make it through and I was going to win, I thought, I've got to put this story up there so that it counteracts the negativity. And if one person finds this story and can read about my survival, then it'll give them that little bit of hope. And that's what's happened. And then more and more since we've started Love, Hope, Strength, we've been able to tell lots of other people's stories and how they've come through. And even if they've lost their life and they lost their battle, so there's still something beautiful in their journey about that never allowed them to give up for 1 second, and to they never went gently into the night. Sure. And there's a lot of beauty in the end of life that we're afraid of as well. And sometimes it's if you can only get one extra day to cancer treatment that allows you to hug your wife one more time, or to tell your kids you love them, that's one 24-hour victory can be a most beautiful prize at the end of your life.
That's amazing. I just want to touch on, before we jump back into your foundation, for people that don't know much about you, when did you first gravitate towards music?
Well, I was a proper little punk rocker, seeing the Sex Pistols in 1976 before it was all shock and outrage. I saw them very early on, and it was life-changing lyrically, hearing the words like anarchy and pretty vacant. I didn't know what they meant. I wasn't taught those words in school.
Sure.
And I realized there was a certain amount of liberating I had to go through to realize what I wanted to become, and who I could become, and what the possibilities were. And I picked up the guitar and thought, if these guys can create a band that can affect my life in the way they did, then let's try and form a band here that can do something in a positive way. Because I did have quite a negative introduction to the Sex. I saw the Sex Pistols and they blew me away. But after the gig, I went to talk to Johnny Rotten at the bar, and I asked him what anarchy in the UK meant. He told me to F off.
Really?
quite loudly, and it was almost like, whoa! It was a real shock, and it was a bit of an awakening in a way, and a bit like a slap in the face. And I thought,
of course.
Wow.
How old were you? How old
I
were
was
you?
only 16, 17.
I was going to say 15, 16. Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought to myself, well, if I get a chance to be in a band, I don't think I'd want to treat someone quite like that.
Nice.
There's got to be ways of enlightening people in a positive
way.
And that's what started me off. Yeah.
Well, that's a good mission.
It's still ongoing.
You know what? And I feel like your love and passion for music has probably just kept you so positive all these years through everything you've been through.
Very much so. I would say I'm alive because of music, almost literally. When I was diagnosed in 2005 with leukemia, I had my blood count was off the chart. I'd fallen out of the healthcare system because I'd gone through my first cancer journey with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. I'd come through all that, and then my life mutated into leukemia, but I didn't know it, and I'd become very ill. My blood count was at 500,000 instead of single figures. So my blood wasn't even moving around my body, and the doctor couldn't believe I'd even walked into the hospital. So I was sent for immediate treatment, and they wanted me to have a bone marrow transplant on the spot. And I said, you know what, I'm supposed to be going on tour to America.
This isn't convenient.
Yeah. So I put off the transplant and then lived out this whole life, and when I came back, I'd actually reversed my blood count, and it turns out I'd had a very different kind of disease than they'd first diagnosed me with. And when they looked deeper into it, I had something else and where the blood count goes up and down. So if I'd acted on their initial advice and gone, I had a bone marrow transplant, my life would have been very different. I might not have recovered, or I might not have been fit enough to run around the stages and travel the world. And instead, I was able to save my rock and roll life and the person you see today. Yes. And my doctor always said the best thing he ever did was fight us and go on your tour and come back a few weeks later and reverse the situation.
You were like, I'm going to go rock.
I just thought, I can't stop the music. I just thought to myself, minutes before they told me I had cancer, I felt completely well. I felt like I was moving forward in life with not a care in the world. And then they said to me, they handed a piece of paper over that said cancer. We've got to talk about cancer, and life changed. But when I was thinking about going on music, I think just reverse yourself back a little bit, because often when you're told you've got cancer, immediately you feel unwell. You feel like you've got to stay in bed. You can't go out. You can't go running. You can't train. You can't play guitar. You can't run in the field with your kids or take your dog for a walk, but you can. And you have to just go back to the place you were before you heard the word cancer, and that's where you start your recovery there, not when you're 20 floors down when they've told you you've got cancer.
Right. Great advice.
We're making a new album, but we're releasing this is the cover.
Cool.
And it's got CDR inside, and I've hand painted the covers, and
that's amazing.
It goes all out to the fans from tomorrow. But we haven't finished the recording, so this is actually a CDR inside.
Okay.
So the fans burn their own CD when we release the music on the 25th of February.
That's amazing. I love that.
We can beat the production deadlines, and the fans can have a physical CD. They can listen to it on Spotify and iTunes, and we're also getting some hand-cut vinyl made as well on the day. So, and then after that, I'm going to destroy the master tape, so it'll only exist in this form.
That's a brilliant idea.
Well, I think with the COVID situation, it's all about. We want to put an LP out for our 40th anniversary. We've had to produce it 8 months up front to even have it in time for the release date. So it's crippling the idea of the immediacy of music. So I thought, how can we get around that? And I mean, we only started making the album a few days ago in response to everything that was going on in the world.
That's unbelievable.
We want this to come out fast and furious and in the moment. I was taken by a phrase John Lennon said about instant karma, that he wrote it in the morning, recorded it for lunchtime, and released it for dinner.
And that's you.
That's me. Well, yeah, at least in spirit.
Anything else you'd like people to know about your foundation and your event, February 4th?
Well, it's going to be an exciting event. It's going to be out live on YouTube, and people will be able to tune in. And we're promoting all the awareness of World Cancer Day and celebrating life. We've got some amazing artists taking part. Duff McKagan from Guns N' Roses, Taylor from Foo Fighters, and all kinds of things. We've got some amazing guitars. Billy Duffy from The Cult has signed a guitar that we're going to be able to auction off, and we've got some guitars from when we went to Everest. So there's some brilliant items there for people to bid on that can go to help the battle against cancer on a global basis, because through our adventures around the world, we've been to Everest, Machu Picchu, Kilimanjaro, and we've built cancer centers in all those parts of the world, which we continue to support to this very day. So all the funds we raise on the Big Night in Love, Hope, Strength special will support our missions around the world.
So amazing, so uplifting. Where can people find out more information about you and the event?
Well, our website is lovehopestrength.co.uk, or if you're in the USA, you can go to lovehopestrength.org. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We're there. Google Love, Hope, Strength, and you'll find us, and you'll see what we've been up to since 2007, and where you can tune in to see the Big Night In on the 4th of February, World Cancer Day.
Fantastic. I'll be tuning in.
Fantastic. We'll give you the wave from the sofa.
Okay. And hello to the paparazzi in your background.
This is my breast cancer surviving wife, Jules.
Nice to meet you.
Oh, lovely to meet you. Thanks very much for having us and doing the interview.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One last thing. What advice would you give for people that are having a hard time right now?
Stay believing, because, there is an end in sight to all of this, and if you are diagnosed with cancer, if you're feeling there's something that's not right, act upon it. Don't be afraid to go to the hospitals. Ironically, the hospitals are probably the safest places in the world to visit right now, because they've been clean top to bottom. They're COVID secure. And I would strongly advise anyone who feels they've got a lump, feels they've got something, they're tired through all of this, because cancer doesn't go away despite what COVID has brought to the world. So, but act upon it. Go and see your GP. Start the journey now. Hopefully, nobody's been diagnosed with cancer since COVID came along, but sadly that's not going to be true. And hopefully if you start your journey early enough, then you can find the road to recovery. Okay.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Janine. Thank you very much.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.